Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock on this Monday. Back to work, back to school, at least for some. June 2nd, 2025. That's right. We are into June Dairy Month. Mr. Zommers, how are you?
Also, Pride Month.
Also Pride Month as
But
well.
I'm doing well. I had a good weekend. Spent some time with my family back in Manitowoc. Fixed my sister's arcade cabinet, which is a slot machine. So yeah, we had that up in the garage and put in $2 and then opened the cabinet and took the $2 out and put them back in.
Well, fantastic. Good for you. If this is any indication of how today's show will go, right before we went on the air, I had one of my headphones on and one off, and I was doing something. And Zommers comes in the studio, and he says something, and I thought, and I looked up, I said, "Why? What happened?" And he said, "You didn't hear the news?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Well, Ukraine did a big offensive against Russia." And I started laughing uncontrollably because what did you actually say? Did you hear?
I said, "Go Ukraine."
That's right. Zommers said, "Go Ukraine." And what I thought he said was, "Go you, Hugh Grant."
Which, not the same thing.
And I thought, what did Hugh Grant do now? But no, it was "Go Ukraine."
He was the Russian truck driver. No, he was not.
No, he was not. Yeah, some big news over in Ukraine over the weekend. Might get to a little bit of that. Big offensive there. So, yes, go Ukraine. It was an interesting weekend for me. A busier weekend than I thought it might be, but that's fine. I had a good time throughout the entire. On Saturday, went to brunch with my friend Chris Andrews from United Wisconsin. Talked about fusion voting. Have some exciting things coming up. We'll talk about here in the days and weeks to come with that. And then on Saturday afternoon night, I went down to the beautiful city of Monroe, Wisconsin, in Greene County, and met up with my friends Kurt and Florsey, and also Rob Wheat and Sean Holly, who was in town. And we went and saw Boogie and the Yo-Yos. Have you ever seen Boogie and the Yo-Yos, Zomer?
I think I have. I don't remember exactly. I've seen a lot of local bands like them, at least.
They're a great band based out of, I believe, Appleton, Wisconsin.
Yeah, Appleton.
And they play all over, and they always play at Cheese Days. You've heard me talk about them, usually a Saturday feature at Cheese Days. Well, this year, the Monroe County, or the Monroe Chamber of Commerce, kicked off their downtown summer concert series with Boogie and the Yo-Yos, because, of course, this year is not Cheese Days. It's so big it only happens every other year. And so they brought Boogie in, and I've been wanting to do this. Here you go, for those watching on the stream, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. There is my Boogie and the Yo-Yos t-shirt. Pretty cool t-shirt. So I did that. It was just a great concert, made you feel good. Came back on Sunday, had a brunch here in Madison. It was a big brunch weekend for me. Had brunch on Sunday with the Wheats and the Hollies, and then kind of worked on the show and chilled out on the rest of it. Still smoky across much of Wisconsin due to those Canadian wildfires. Still bringing down. Did not get as much rain, I think, as they were thinking, although they're saying now tomorrow more rain and thunderstorms, some of which in some parts of the state could be severe. We'll keep you up to date on that as well. Going to be a big show here today. Coming up at 2:35, State Senator Kelda Royce from the 26th District of Wisconsin, member of the Joint Committee on Finance, will be here in studio. Will the Joint Finance move to doing some things on taxes? Is there any progress being made? We'll get an update from Senator Royce on that. And then just after the 3 o'clock hour, Tom Kirchner of Wisconsin Watch will be in and talking about a fact check on some of the GOP things, as well as news here in Wisconsin on vaccines. So we'll talk to Tom about that and other things over the weekend as well. In hour 2, what's worse for you? And I've got a story. I was going to tell it at the top of the show, but I think I'll wait until hour number 2 because it is timely indeed. Remember how I've said on this show before, I've been adamant that in Wisconsin, it's right turn, no stop. That you could just go on a... maybe not.
It's not supposed to be.
Maybe not. Stay tuned. I've got a story about that in hour 2. And also, I know Jane Matnair, a friend and colleague of Matnair on air, and Greg Bach touched on this morning. But for the news of the wild and wacky of politics, Iowa's U.S. Senator Joni Ernst, not holding back, being very, very honest. So we'll get to her kind of crazy comments and much more, including the Trumpster tweeting out, and I'm not making this up. The Trumpster tweets out over the weekend that he believes that Joe Biden is dead, and what we currently see is like a Sith or an android.
And not only that he's dead, but that he was executed in 2020.
Here's the actual tweet, from his Truth Social.
Which, to be fair, he reposted. He did not say this, but
he reposted. Thank you.
The implication is that he agrees with it.
He reposted this from someone else on his Truth Social network. The quote is, quote, "There is no hashtag Joe Biden executed in 2020. Hashtag Biden clones, doubles, and robotic engineered, soulless, mindless entities are now what you see. Hashtag Democrats don't know the difference." Unquote. There's more. And unfortunately, Trump got a lot of what he wanted on this, which are people, particularly left-leaning pundits, the like, saying, oh my gosh, 25th Amendment, Donald Trump's incompetent, the dementia, blah, blah, blah. And it ain't that, in my opinion. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's to get us to spend the next hour talking about that tweet out there instead of talking about what's going on in Washington and the cuts to Medicaid and Medicare and the tax breaks for billionaires in this country, the 1%, and getting us off kilter. So fine, I mentioned it. We might talk a little bit more about it, but that ain't going to be the focus of the show. But again,
I agree. I think it is a distraction.
It's the news of the wild and the wacky. Tony Zimmerman watching on YouTube says someone clearly watched Star Wars, right? The Clone Wars. You're absolutely right, Tony. I read an article, I think, on the Intellectualist. What is it? Oh, yeah. He'd like you to talk about anything but his bill. Yes, you're right. I saw an article or a post by the Intellectualist over the weekend. Spooky. Talking about the continued rise of AI and where this is going, and the fact that this whole thing about clones and synth, it ain't 100% made up. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but within the next 50 years, it could be. Yeah, it could be something. So, anyway, all that and more coming up on today's show. But right now, it's 14 minutes past the hour of 2 o'clock. Time once again for this year's edition of Scotty Summer Text to Win Contest. Here we go.
And it's 2 bare feet on the dashboard, young love and an old Ford, cheap shades and a tattoo and a yoo-hoo, bottle on the floorboard, perfect song on the radio. Sing along, cause it's one we know. It's a smile, it's a kiss, it's a sip of wine, it's summertime.
Kenny Chesney for you on a Monday to start us off. It's time once again for this summer's edition of Civic Media's Scotty Summer Text to Win Contest. This is very big. For those who've been with us for a while, you know how it goes. Every time we do this, not just on our show, but on others, you'll have a chance that hour to win either a $100 Benjamin Franklin cold hard cash bill, or B, a pair, that's two, a deuce, of Brewer tickets in our beautiful club level seats. And then at the end of the 2-week contest, 2 lucky grand prize winners will be randomly drawn by a computer, and you'll either get a Baraboo area Dells getaway, or a beautiful Door County getaway, and each vacation comes with cards for gas. How about that, Summers? So very, very excited. And we're going to give you a word this hour. You download the Civic Media app. If you don't have it, go to your app store, Apple or Android. Type in the search bar, Civic, CIVIC Media. It'll pop up. Click on it. Takes less than a minute to download. It's free. It's what Gail King calls a deal. Then you open that up. The first 11 stations are the ones we're on. Click on one of those. In the lower right-hand corner, it'll say text. All right? I'm going to give you a word here in a minute, and text us the following word in a second. But here's the caveat. Now, in years, or well, I guess in years, but in contests past, there has been this internal pitting of my very good friend and colleague, the wonderful and talented Jane Matnair. Again, and there's, well, who could get the most text to it? And we had won, quote unquote, the first couple of times. And then the last contest, Jane beat our posteriors and was named the internal text to win queen. Well, apparently now they've retired her text to win jersey because she's not a part of this one. They've given us a new, and Jane was never our nemesis, but they've given us a new nemesis in the face of nationally syndicated Thom Hartmann, the most popular liberal talk progressive program in America. He is the number 9 talk show in America. And they've pitted our little show against his. And he's going to get the word every day by carrier pigeon because he's very green. He'll get the word by carrier pigeon. He'll unroll it. He'll give you a word during his show. We'll give you a word during our show. Here's the deal. If we beat Thom Hartmann, I'm told they're taking us national. So right there, that's very, very big news. So here we go. The text to win word for this hour is brew. The text to win word is brew. B-R-E-W. Brew. The word is brew, B-R-E-W. The witch's brew. So help yourself, first and foremost. By the way, up for grabs this hour, a pair of Milwaukee Brewer tickets. So that's fantastic. Help yourself out, win the tickets. And then secondarily, help us reclaim our Text to Win contest trophy and beat Thom Hartmann.
And you know, unlike our show, if we beat Thom Hartmann, this contest is statewide.
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, this is a statewide contest. The lawyers insist that we must tell you that. So join our statewide contest all the next 2 weeks here. We're going to have a word for you during Kreitlow's show at 7 a.m., during the Hartmann show at 11, our show at 2, and Maggie Dawn's show at 4. Every day for the next 2 weeks. Be listening, and we'll give you a word, and you can win either those Brewer tickets, $100, or those lovely prizes to the Baraboo Dells area and the Door County Getaway. I've heard now, I cannot confirm this, I've heard that the Door County Getaway includes a jar of cherry bounce. So
that would be very nice.
That would be big if true.
Yes, I was just going to say, as the kids say, big if true.
We don't know. But what is true is you can win a pair of Brewer tickets. Text the word brew, B-R-E-W, right now for our Scotty Summer Text to Win contest. Back with some headlines after this. It's the Todd Allbaugh Show for Monday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to 92.7.
I legitimately was about to say big if true.
Tons of glass artists share the same passion for eye-catching art as Ignite Glass and Gifts, so we're showcasing their work alongside our talented local artists.
Tony says on YouTube, Aaron has saved so many problems with the lawyers with those subtle reminders that the contest is statewide.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Tony. I appreciate his offers. Absolutely.
Glass, gifts, and vape. Ignite Glass and Gifts. Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road. Plus,
You should stop that.
IgniteGlassandGifts.com.
I know.
Do your eyes a favor
Well,
and
they
see
are good.
this stuff.
Jim and Madison reminds us that John and Gordy are in the contest too. This is true. as are
Strong,
Mino and the Mayor.
reliable
Oh, really?
flavor that
Nice.
could be
Well, yeah,
counted
since
on.
they're on at that time
got it.
on those
Got it.
stations.
Decided that
Got it.
barbecue needed to be zesty or spicy.
I didn't go to the
or
meeting,
sweeter
sorry.
or whatever. If you miss the good
Oh, it's
old
on the
days of
promotion
great
description.
tasting barbecue, we'd like
I'm
to
always very
introduce you
careful because
to
there's some
Grandpa's
things I'm not
Barbecue.
allowed to tell you.
Made in small batches.
You know, like,
from Grandpa's
for example.
original
For example.
recipe. Buy yours
Here,
online
grand
today
prize
at
details,
grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
internal only. And I'm not allowed to say anymore.
Wisconsin, your environmental voice since 1970. I'm Amy Berrio. Dismantling the IRA and other federal clean energy incentives.
Oh, no, that
will
was.
add
See, I got both promotions. The Friday giveaway.
Modeling from Princeton University. House Republicans passed aggressive cuts to clean energy incentives in their latest budget. The Senate is now considering
just
the
too
bill.
much.
The Public
There's
Service
just-
Commission of
there's too
Wisconsin
many
has given the green
rules and
light for a major
regulations.
build-out of fossil fuel-burning power plants in Wisconsin. We Energies wants to build new gas plants and operate them for 30 years, largely to meet the needs of Microsoft's new AI data center. It's turtle nesting season, and the DNR is asking
Turtle
drivers to
nesting
slow down
season.
on roads near wet areas, lakes, and rivers. Wisconsin's 11 turtle
Gotta
species
take care of those
lay eggs
turds.
from late May through June, when you can often see them along roads and in yards. You can help keep them safe by being
About 30
alert when
seconds.
Thank
driving
you.
through their habitat.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 22 minutes now past the hour, 2 o'clock on this Monday. We're into June. Can you believe it? Lots more graduations happening this time of year. People starting their whole new chapter after either high school or college. Allergies, by the way, are still killing me. I'm sorry about the voice. A little scratchy, a little rusty. I feel like it's getting better, but I know people all over the state are really struggling this year. Lots of tree pollen allergies right now. Right in the middle of our Scotty Summer Text to Win contest, up for grabs this hour. This contest ends at 3 o'clock sharp. So text in while you can. Up for grabs, 2 pair of Milwaukee Brewer tickets. Simply go to the Civic Media app and text the word BREW, B-R-E-W, B-R-E-W. On the Civic Media app, you too then will be entered in for those 2 free Milwaukee Brewer tickets in our beautiful club level seats. Right on third base row. You can look right down into the Brewers dugout. They're phenomenal. And then also, everybody who enters over the next 2 weeks will be eligible. We're giving away 2 great grand prizes. A Wisconsin vacation in either the Baraboo Dells area or Door County, and we're giving you gas money to get there. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Our friend and ongoing contributor Jeff Perry, watching on Facebook, says if the contest rules are too complicated, feel free just to award the prize to me. I'm willing to make that sacrifice. Jeff Perry is nothing if not humble and helpful. I appreciate that, Mr. Perry. We'll see. Speaking of the Brewers, boy, a great series for Milwaukee. They swept the Phillies, but got a little hairy yesterday. According to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, the Milwaukee Brewers removed outfielder Christian Yelich from the game in the 3rd inning at Citizens Park Bank after he was struck in the hand by a pitch. X-rays, thank goodness, were negative, and the Brewers officially labeled the injury a right hand contusion, and manager Pat Murphy said Yelich will be day-to-day. Quote, thank God, unquote, Murphy said. I think a lot of us were thinking that after that pitch yesterday. After Yelich absorbed the pitch from Phillies starter Ranger Suarez in the 1st inning, he stayed in the game to run the bases after a brief check from the Brewers' training staff. Eric Haas pinch hit for him in the third inning, that is. Brewers, or rather Yelich, was having trouble gripping the bat when he went back to the dugout in the first inning, which made him fear the injury was potentially worse. But again, X-rays showed there were no broken bones. Quote, "That was good news," Yelich said. "I felt like I was going 50-50 going in there. Just really was a swelling thing and had nothing, but was not being able to grip the bat. Not too much pain when I was taking swings at the bottom of the first," unquote. So there you go. Hopefully Yelly can do a little. Our old football coach from Richland Center, the late great Vitus Rip, was fond of saying, "Oh, geez, give a little hot, cold. 5 minutes hot, 5 minutes cold. Whirlpool it." Whirlpool the hand. But I'm sure they've got a great training staff there at the Brewers, and hopefully Yelly can be back in action soon. But how about that? The Brewers, they are hot right now.
What is it, 7 in a row?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's not what I expected.
Well, I'm very happy for him. I'm very happy. So our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, will be in throughout the day to give us some updates on the Brewers as well. 27 now past the hour of 2 o'clock. Let's do this Joni Ernst thing. She held this town hall in Iowa, her home state, where she's a U.S. senator. And I guess I'll give her credit for facing people and having a town hall more than guys like Ron Johnson and Derek Van Orten are doing here in Wisconsin. But one person yelled out after she wouldn't answer the question that you're gonna kill people. Here's what happened.
And yeah, it might be a little hard to hear because it's someone recording on their phone, but this is what happened.
So people are not, well, we all are going to die. So,
Joni Ernst, after someone said, "Look, people are going to die." And she's like, "Well, everybody is going to die." I mean, that's cold. That is chilling. Icy, the ice princess, Joni Ernst. No, is she a Tin Man? Has she got no heart? So then she tried to make up for it over the weekend. Somebody in her staff said, "Look, you better offer an apology." I really thought this was AI at first. But no, Joni Ernst recorded this in a cemetery. No joke. In a cemetery. This was Senator Ernst's apology.
hello, everyone. I would like to take this opportunity to sincerely apologize for a statement that I made yesterday at my town hall. I was in the process of answering a question that had been asked by an audience member when a woman who was extremely distraught screamed out from the back corner of the auditorium, "People are going to die." And I made an incorrect assumption that everyone in the auditorium understood that, yes, we are all going to perish from this earth. So I apologize. And I'm really, really glad that I did not have to bring up the subject of the tooth fairy as well. But for those that would like to see eternal and everlasting life, I encourage you to embrace my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
I don't know what to say to that.
As one broadcaster likes to say, that deserves a wow. I mean, that's pretty sick. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but next we're going to talk about with State Senator Kelmer Royce about some things that are actually happening to help people in Wisconsin. Back after this is the Todd Allbaugh Show for a Monday. You're listening to the Civic Media Radio Network.
Voice for Madison. Real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Right?
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
Something as simple as the name of a food can be a trade barrier for U.S. dairy. I'm Pam Yankee with a quick update on what's happening in food and farming news on a Monday. Shauna Morris is the Executive Vice President for Trade Policy and Global Affairs for the National Milk Producers Federation and the U.S. Dairy Export Council. She says there's quite a few unfair trade policies that the European Union forces on the United States. Geographical indications are an example.
Out of all the trade barriers we work on around the world, this one is the most crazy making because it's just the most ridiculous. The European view that Parmesan somehow is not Parmesan simply because it's made in Wisconsin instead of a certain area of Italy is just patently ridiculous. But this is a firmly held view on the European side and one that they've been working hard to export.
I'll take Todd's answer.
That's right. EU trade problem. It's one that we're dealing with in a variety of
kicked out of my party. Tell me how it feels.
It's pretty good. Trying to set up competition.
Geographical
I figure like I would too.
Just another example of trade barriers against U.S. dairy from the European Union. That's Shauna Morris. She's the Executive Vice President for Trade Policy and Global Affairs for the National Milk Producers Federation and the U.S. Dairy Export.
You can put your chair down a little bit if you want.
When hot weather strikes, cattle are
cute
stressed.
It is. I love it.
Decreases and milk production drops.
Thank you. I love it too. It's got pockets. That's the main thing.
Of your herd's reproductive
It has
program.
pockets?
Protect your bottom line this summer. Add BioVet's bovine.
I have three sisters, so I'm well aware that that is a rare feature.
Yeah. Milk production up and breeding program in check. Add bovine gold light to your operation today. Find BioVet online at bio-vet.com.
So I was
bio-vet.com.
part of Mark.
Pancakes,
Smith,
potatoes,
I
sausage, eggs. Oh my.
First person.
Come hungry to the
Thank
Marquette
you.
County June Dairy Breakfast
I am
on
on-
Sunday,
my
June 8th
allergies are
at
so
Slowy
terrible
Farms
right
on
now.
Evergreen
I'm on
Avenue
so
in
much
Westfield.
meds.
In
I'm
addition
on, like,
to breakfast,
fluticasone,
enjoy live music,
Claritin,
farm tours,
Sudafed.
a petty
I'm just
review,
like,
and
oh my
kid
God.
games.
I know.
You can also
Have you
try
tried
the
ice cream and
Allbaugh
bourbon?
Bingo.
No, but that's next.
At 7 a.m. at
Next week.
Slowy Farms
All right.
on
Bring you an
Evergreen
alcoholic
Avenue
milkshake.
in Westfield
Oh my
on
God,
June
Get the job
8th.
done.
For full event
That's my
details,
retirement
see our
job,
event
Todd.
on
That's my-
Facebook.
Really?
That's
And the
hell
school
yeah.
year may be
That'd be
drawing
great.
to
I'm
a
like a,
close, but
small business
22
owner.
middle and high
That's my
schools
next
around Wisconsin are
entrepreneur
going to be
thing.
investing in
That'd be great.
agriculture education for the next term. Compere
So anyway,
Financial
what Matt
awarding
was
each
saying
school up to
that
$4,000 to support
JFC's looking at some
agriculture
tax stuff this
education
week. Is that
programs,
right? Is that
and
accurate? We don't know.
equipment
We have
they're
no
looking for.
idea.
In Wisconsin,
I would be
for
shocked because
example,
they have
Amory
not
High School will invest in a livestock
put anything out in
scale and
writing.
a chicken coop.
So what happened
And
last week? It did
Dodgeville,
last week.
they'll
Was it
invest
just a
in
quick?
an
Oh yeah, it was like
aquaculture
30
system.
minutes.
You can see all the projects
Including
that are
the
currently
DOJ
being funded
settlements.
on our website,
Yeah.
Midwest Farm Report.
I mean, so they're going to do a bunch of
I'm
other like
Farm
really
Director Pam
small
Yonke.
agencies,
Yeah.
like non-controversial, like
Enjoying this local
legislature,
program?
WAC,
Find the complete
Ethics
Civic Media
Commission,
lineup
Supreme
Should we
Court.
help ourselves? Yes.
Yeah.
or the Civic Media
Some
app.
sufficient. Blank check.
More of that smoky
Go ahead,
haze
boss.
in
Build
the
yourself
sky
another
today,
palace.
partly
Right.
cloudy and warm with a high in the mid-80s
Mark
this
from Prairie to
afternoon.
Sac
Tonight,
wanted to
partly
talk
cloudy
about
with temperatures
Joni
dropping into
Ernst
the low
and
60s. Tomorrow,
some of the stuff that she said.
showers and
I let him know
thunderstorms
that,
locally,
you know,
heavy rain.
probably not till
Yeah,
next
it'll
hour.
probably be. I'm just gonna because I played the cut.
But I also wanted to let you know just in case you did want to
Thanks.
take it.
Yeah, Mark, if you're listening on the hold there, just
It's time for
we'll
Civic
probably
Media's
get
Scotty
to
Summer
that
Text
back to
Contest
that
right
next
here on this
hour.
local
But
Civic Media
I
radio
want
station.
to we played right for the break,
$100 cash.
so
Milwaukee Brewers Club
I'll mention it
Yeah,
again.
that's fine.
And just the fact that
Wisconsin Dells area or an escape to Door
as
County
Taylor Swift says, "Why do you got to be so mean?" I mean, who the hell says that? I mean, everybody's gonna die, and then the stupid apology in the
Yeah,
cemetery.
and then when you get
know.
asked to apologize, you go and you say, "I'm sorry that you're all such idiots."
Right.
Like,
I guess you must believe in the Tooth Fairy as well. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I guess like the more serious part is just again the real implications of Medicaid cuts in Washington and what that means for Wisconsinites, what that means for taxpayers. I'm not sure if we mentioned it last time. I want to make sure
30 seconds.
that we mentioned that there are a lot of veterans on that.
Oh yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
All right.
What you don't know, what you don't know. Someday I'll be living in a big old city, and all you're ever gonna be is me. Someday I'll be big enough so you can't hit me, and all you're ever gonna be is mean. Why you gotta gotta be so mean.
There's a reason Zommers is the best in the business, because he dials up all the appropriate music. Well done, Mr. Zommers. A little Swiftie for you there. Taylor Swift, why you gotta be so mean? Right before the break. Welcome back, by the way, to the Todd Allbaugh Show. 35 past the hour, 2 o'clock on Civic Media. Before the break, we played the cut from U.S. Senator Joni Ernst of Iowa over the weekend. I'll give her credit, like I say, at least she showed up for a live town hall in Iowa. But when someone yelled out, look, these cuts you guys are doing in D.C. for Medicaid, it's going to kill people. And she replied with, well, we're all going to die sometime. Pretty cold. And then she attempted an apology, which she shot on her phone in a cemetery, in which she half-baked an apology. And she said, well, I guess we'll have to tell people there's no tooth fairy either. And then try to bring a religion into this. Joining me at the table, as she has here through the budget process, we are so thankful for it, the state senator from the 26th district here in Dane County, including parts of Madison, State Senator Kelda Royce. Senator, first of all, thanks for being here. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday, Todd.
Great to see you. I don't want to spend too much time on Washington, but boy, as a former member of the Republican Party, someone who's helped with Dem races, I don't know anybody from any party where that is an appropriate answer, let alone an attempted apology.
Yeah, that sounds less like an apology and more like an audition for the next cartoon villain.
Yeah, right?
It's just
right?
Yeah. I think the sort of callousness, I mean, who cares? I mean, if you don't care about your constituents, but these are people's family members and their loved ones that you're just talking about. And I think we cannot lose sight of the fact that Medicaid is what makes people's lives possible. And, if you want to cut that, then you have to take responsibility. And I guess we should give her credit for saying, yeah, people are going to die. And that's too bad, so sad. And if, she doesn't care about that, well, at least we know. But I don't think that's a very good way to live. And I certainly don't think it's a good way to govern.
And it's another unfortunate but good reminder that Wisconsin's senior U.S. Senator Ron Johnson has been saying he's opposed to this Trump reconciliation bill. But again, I would say for the wrong reasons, because he doesn't think it goes far enough in cutting Medicaid.
I mean, to me, that is just insane. The idea that not enough people are going to lose their health insurance in their lives, not enough hungry kids in Wisconsin. He wants more. But this is a guy who is totally out of touch. He's been a millionaire ever since he married into his wife's family's money.
Exactly. His wife is the one that had the money.
Well, and if it was up to him, he'd be feeding us all microplastics, right? Because more profits for him. Why not? Yeah. And I just think that approach to the world is so, I don't know, it's just absolutely devoid of any kind of care or consideration for other people. I don't get that.
And I think that, again, I don't want to spend too much time, but as a former Republican, I don't remember when I first got into the political game in the early 90s working. I don't remember sitting in caucuses or in my former boss's office and hearing those types of mean-spirited discussions. It was more, how much should we cut taxes? Or how much should we fund this? It wasn't like, people
weren't cheering people losing their health insurance and getting fired and, their kids going hungry. Nobody, you might say, well, that's unfortunate. We can't pay as much as we want for those programs, but people were not enthusiastically cheering other than,
And by the time the party did change and former state senator Laura Vukmir she was a former nurse and talked like that. And former Senate Majority Leader and President Mike Ellis at the time, God rest his soul, I can tell the story now. In private, he said, you know what she is? She's bat crap crazy, because you know what? She's bat crap crazy. I mean, people that knew how to be a legislator would never directly hurt people.
Well, when I think about why I care about politics, why I'm interested in public policy, it's because I love people. I want everyone to thrive. I want every kid that grows up in the state to have the same kind of opportunities that I did, not growing up wealthy, but growing up on the edge of the middle class and having the opportunity to be the best version of myself. And my gosh, I mean, why wouldn't we want that for every single kid? It benefits us all. Someday I'm going to be old. I'm going to need doctors and nurses taking care of me. I'm going to need librarians. I'm going to need people cleaning the streets so it's safe. We need each other in society. And I think the idea that people are just disposable and we can all live in isolation from each other. I just think it's factually wrong. It's very stupid and short-sighted.
So let's get down to brass tacks, what this means in terms of, again, the potential cuts. As a good reminder, a good opportunity for a bad reminder that what's happening in Washington has implications across the state of Wisconsin. I think one of the things that I didn't bring up, and that's on me last time we talked, was unfortunately, there are stigmas and stereotypes that get perpetuated by Republican narratives that somehow these are, quote unquote, lazy people collecting benefits. And explain, particularly for Wisconsin's veterans, what these cuts mean.
Well, 1 in 2 nursing home beds in the state is paid for with Medicare dollars, not Medicaid, Medicare. So if we lose Medicaid, we are going to see massive closures of nursing homes, and those folks are going to have nowhere to go. Let's talk about kids. Lazy people, 1 in every 3 kids, 1 in every 3 births are covered by Medicaid. And for adults on Medicaid, 68% are working. And when you think about the fact that we also cover 1 in 2 nursing home beds, think about the vast majority of people on Medicaid are already working. And it is Medicaid that makes it possible for them to work. People who are disabled or have chronic illnesses and without that health care, they would be out of the workforce. They would have no ability to participate in the economy. And now they can. Medicaid is one of the greatest workforce programs this country has ever built. And they are trying to dismantle it. And with it, they're going to take people's lives and economic security.
We're talking with State Senator Kelda Royce from the 26th District here in the city of Madison. She is also a member of the Joint Committee on Finance, which is in the middle, supposedly. That's not a knock on you, Senator, but rather on your colleagues on the other side of the aisle. They're supposed to be putting together a state budget, but give us an update. What's happened since the last time we talked to you?
This is where we need that kind of like thinking music or the Jeopardy, dun, 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 dun. Because really not much. I mean, here we are in June, and we've just played tiddlywinks essentially. We've had a couple of small agencies that we've done the executive sessions, but no major decisions. In fact, the Republicans have yet to even put out their tax plan that they saved Senate Bill 1, the very first bill that they were supposed to introduce the session. They saved it for, and here we are 6 months in, and they haven't introduced it. And I think it's because they know it's going to be really unpopular. They don't want to show their work here. They're hoping to kind of cut a backroom deal and never have to talk about what they're advocating for. And I just think that's outrageous.
I think as thank you.
There we go.
There you go. Zombers on the sound effects. I think we had Lieutenant Governor Sarah Rodriguez on the show last week, and she's been traveling around, as you know, to all 72 counties in Wisconsin as we travel around for this show. I think what most Wisconsinites are like, well, just get the job done. And I asked her directly, I said, we hear all these reports, the governor doesn't want to negotiate or meet. The Republicans, I said, where's the truth here? And she said, look, from our point of view, from the administration, we're ready to meet. We're trying to. From a legislative side, Senator Royce, what are you seeing? Is there any sort of real progress in because at the end of the day, correct me if I'm wrong, the legislature, at least JFC, is going to have to come up past something, and then the governor is going to have to either veto the entire thing or can use his line item veto again and do it that way. But it wouldn't be real great if the Republican legislature just passes something they know is going to be automatically wholly vetoed.
Right. I mean, that would be bad for Wisconsin because we're going to miss deadlines, and that means school districts and local governments will have no idea what they can spend. It also means we're in a little bit of a race against the clock with the horrible cuts that are being proposed federally. I mean, there's $2 billion that Wisconsin could access that will disappear if the Republicans in Washington get their way and we do not expand Badger Care. And I think we've got to expand Badger Care this year to save it because this is our last chance. And the cost to continue without getting that $2 billion incentive payment that's about to go away. Otherwise, it has to come out of all of our pockets. It has to come out of our existing taxes. And that is a huge cost.
And there again, Badger Care, I was a small business owner, owned a coffee shop. I know you're an entrepreneur, small business owner. This is not a reward for, quote unquote, doing nothing. This is rewarding people for being entrepreneurs in this state,
right,
and helping them out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Medicaid, Badger Care, it's the same program, essentially. It is, in many ways, it's a subsidy to small businesses and to other employers who don't pay their employees enough that they're able to buy health insurance on the Affordable Care Marketplace and don't have employer-based plans, right? So, it's it is helping, again, bolster that workforce.
I've told this story before on the air. I don't think with you here, but when I have my coffee shop, I suffer from really bad allergies, like I am right now, and sometimes I get ear infections. I went for it to refill a prescription. I had to go in person. The cost for that office visit, without anything, was $435, and my doctor never laid a hand on me. Just 10 minutes. All right, there you go.
Right.
$430. And the prescription cost me $10.
Right.
And so, again, for people that say, well, I'm kind of on the Republican side here. We got to make people earn their keep. This is not a giveaway. This is a hand up, as former Republican Tommy Thompson used to say.
Right. I mean, it's a building block of our economy, right? We take this away and our workforce collapses. It's in that way, it is like childcare. It's like housing, right? It's something that you need for people to be able to work and be productive and, be the best, most thriving version of themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About 3 minutes left here before the first break. What are your colleagues on the Joint Finance Committee? What is the Democratic caucus right now? Again, just what is your priority here to that you want people across Wisconsin to know that is a priority for you folks?
Well, I would say number one, the thing we heard over and over again is kids. People want their K-12 public schools funded. And that was true in Wausau and Hayward and West Allis and in every corner of the state. And that's been true for years. Our kids, the kids who've just graduated from college, since they were in kindergarten, have not gotten an inflationary increase in school funding. And that is wrong. So a budget that does not meet the needs of our kids must be vetoed. A budget that does not invest anything in childcare with an industry that is on the verge of collapse must be vetoed. And of course, a budget that does not provide what's needed for the universities of Wisconsin to continue being the economic engine of the state must be vetoed.
And I mean, we're outside the Capitol, so I'll mix in a little politics here in the last 90 seconds. I mean, I think there's a real possibility with now fairer maps that Republicans' majority in the state Senate next year, it ain't assured this time.
That's right. In fact, I think the Republicans are going to have a very difficult time holding on to the majority, especially given, the corruption and the cruelty that we're seeing from Republicans in Washington and seeing that mirrored here at the state level. This is a pragmatic state. It's a purple state. And I think the Republicans have gone so far to the right. They've gone complete MAGA in the Capitol. And that is not what Wisconsin voters want. Now they're seeing the impacts. They're seeing the chaos with the tariffs, all the attacks and the vengeance. And that it's bad for our economy. And I think they're going to lose.
Yeah. We're going to come back, talk a little bit more with State Senator Kelda Royce. We'll talk about the fact that it is Pride Month and Democrats have a couple of pieces of legislation. We'll discuss that and more. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show for a Monday across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.
All you're ever gonna be is mean. Why you gotta be so mean?
Come work with us.
Don't be mean.
Civic Media has a number of great jobs across the state.
It's a little hard
Open now
sometimes, but
at
it's not that hard.
civicmedia.us.
Exactly.
Just take a deep breath. Eat a sandwich.
Buying a home is
Get yourself a snack.
Some are easy to open, some take a little work.
All right, so we'll
Every
talk
once
about
in a while, you get a
Pride.
one that
Yeah,
question
Pride a
your
little bit
life
here.
choices. That's where we come in. At Aaron Weber Group, we crack open the market and find you the perfect home. Whether you're looking for a cozy starter home or a mansion with a snack pantry big enough for a lifetime supply of pistachios, we've got you covered. Call Aaron Weber Group at Powered by Compass today. We'll help you find a home that's nothing but perfect.
Medicare loses about $60 billion annually to fraud, errors, and abuse. June 2nd through the 8th is Medicare Fraud Prevention Week, focusing on the actions everyone can take to prevent, detect, and
Oh,
report
come on.
Medicare
Fraud comes from
Learn
providers.
more by liking and following Wisconsin
Rick
Senior
Scott.
Medicare
What is this?
Patrol on
Is this an ad
Facebook.
by somebody?
Then visit our website, smpwi.org, for information and advice. Remember, Wisconsin Senior Medicare Patrol.
You're listening to the American
Do you want
Democracy
to
Minute.
just
keeping
do
your
like
government
a
high
quick
and
30
for the
seconds a
people.
minute on the
We
nurses
recently
strike that got
reported on
resolved for
county
the weekend?
supervisors in
Yeah.
Shasta
Let's do
County,
that quick.
California, still clinging to debunked 2020
I also got to give the
election
word,
fraud
Lovers. I
claims
forgot
by
to give the
President
word.
Trump
Oh,
and
yeah.
his
Let's get
allies.
back.
May
The word,
29th,
Senator, is
Colorado man
brew.
was sentenced to 3
Brew.
years
For
Like brew
our
pub?
threats he made
yes,
to top
for our
Colorado
big
and Arizona
summer,
election
what is it
officials,
called?
fueled by those
Scotty
Scotty
Summer
Yep.
Text to Win
Keith Ty
contest.
Brockman
There you
of
go.
Cortez, Colorado, pleaded guilty in federal district court last fall for threatening to, quote, hang by the neck Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold and former Arizona Secretary of State and now Governor Katie Hobbs.
Do you follow the
He
Badgers,
also
Senator? You
threatened a
represent
judge
Madison
presiding in a
a
separate
little bit.
DUI case
So-so.
and threatened to shoot federal agents
My
if they
staff
stepped on his
keeps
property.
me informed.
Big
And I go to
Asked for leniency during
any
the
kind of athletic
sentencing,
event when I
blaming
have the chance.
consumption
Love
of
it.
alcohol and
I'm asking her
conspiracy theories
on the
for his
StreamYard
actions.
if Senator Royce will
According to the
sponsor
Associated
legislation
Press, the Brennan
requiring
Center
the
for
football
Justice
team to win
found
at
in
least
its
6 games this year.
2024 survey that
I'd like to require them to
election
build,
officials have been
you know,
subjected to threats.
Title IX
Princeton
compliant
University
athletic
Virginia
facilities,
law
but
professor found 90 threats to
That seems
Yeah.
important.
I don't know.
Meanwhile, the
Yeah. I
Department of
mean,
Justice
you know.
Division, which prosecuted Brockman,
The over-under
Republican
on the
Integrity Division, has
Badger
largely
wins
been
this year for
dismantled
football in
under
Vegas right
Trump's
now is
ending the
5.5.
of the federal
Yeah.
government
It's
executive order.
not great, and
The
we're
division has
paying
been
a
reduced from 30
crazy amount of
lawyers
money.
to 5
I mean,
under
waste, fraud, and
Attorney General
abuse.
Pam Bondi.
Right?
Come
We have
on.
the DOJ's details
That
of the
golden
case at
parachute.
AmericanDemocracyMinute.org.
And to have
I'm
to be
Brian
able,
Beal.
it costs more to fire him than keep him on.
Some cases, yeah.
Yeah.
A part of that, I think, gets paid by the Booster Club. But,
Yeah, yeah, but
and I'm a big Badger fan, so I'm hoping they do
30
well.
seconds.
well, yeah. I mean, the kids are working hard. They deserve
Right,
it.
exactly. Here we go.
Now go stand in the corner and think about what you did.
Welcome back to the Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 8 minutes now before the hour of 3 o'clock. Glad to have you along with us. Our guest this half hour, the state senator of the 26th district here in the Madison area, Calder Royce. Senator, glad to have you here. I know over the weekend, for those around the state might not have heard it, but one of our major hospitals here in Madison, Unity Point Meritor, Meritor, came to a resolution, at least temporarily or initially, with the nurses union there. They have been on strike. My Aunt Peggy was a longtime nurse in this city, have a deep respect for them. And this is about patient safety as much as the rights of nurses.
Absolutely. And I'm delighted. I mean, these nurses work their butts off.
Yes.
Sorry. It's
No,
radio.
no, absolutely.
You know, and the idea that, you know, when you walk into a hospital, you take it for granted that there are guardrails in place so that you're going to be taken care of. And if you press that button, the nurse is going to be able to show up. If you crash after surgery, that a nurse is going to be there immediately, you know, helping revive you. And the reality is, like, nurses who were hailed as heroes during the pandemic were not getting their fair share. We've got a profit-driven healthcare system, and the providers, the ones who do the care, were not getting what they needed.
Yeah. So it appears, I think the details are being worked out, but it appears that there's a settlement been reached, and that's good all the way around. Because
Absolutely.
we want our nurses taken care of here in the state of Wisconsin.
As much as I loved being on the picket line with them and, you know, going to vigils and giving speeches, I would much rather have those nurses in the hospital where they want to be, by your bedside.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about legislation coming out of the Democratic caucus. The LGBTQ caucus chair, according to WisPolitics today, Mark Spritzer, argued that Wisconsin should update its constitution to ensure that no residents' marriage are in doubt. He, along with Representative Snodgrass, Democrat of Appleton, presented a bill that she authored that would ban conversion therapy in the state, and also looking at protecting same-sex marriage as well.
Absolutely. I think we saw that after Dobbs' decision overturned 50 years of abortion rights, and the court, some members of the court clearly signaled that gay marriage was next. So Wisconsin cannot afford to have this discriminatory amendment in our Constitution that puts people's families in jeopardy, right? I mean, if the Supreme Court does overturn the right to gay marriage, Wisconsin families could see their marriages essentially challenged in court, and that would be devastating. Kids deserve the protection, the legal protections of having two parents if their parents are married, or if they're same-sex parents, and we need our laws to reflect that and to be fair.
I think this is a really great point. And you're an attorney, graduate of UW Law School here in Madison, and obviously nobody knows the future. Let's say the worst happens and the Dobbs overturned, that not Dobbs, the amendment that, or the decision that codified marriage equality in the Supreme Court. Let's say that was. Thank you.
Sorry,
it's the sinus drugs, I mean the allergy drugs that I'm on right now, everybody. Let's say the worst happens. Is it possible that individuals who are already legally married are grandfathered in, or we don't know that unless it happens?
We just don't know. I mean, that's the really scary thing. When the Dobbs decision came down, it didn't settle the question or, quote, send it back to the states. It created an absolutely chaotic landscape where people were saying, oh my God, is this Civil War era law back in force? And millions of women overnight lost their rights and lost access to care because people were unsure. We now see maternal mortality skyrocketing around the country. And we will see that same kind of cascade of politicians who oppose gay rights doing everything in their power to try to destroy existing families and to argue, oh yeah, your family's not real, and take away protections that those families rely on. So hospitals could deny visitation rights like they used to. You could be denied for making medical decisions for your partner or for your child. You could be barred from going to school events, your kid's end of the year graduation or school concert, right? I mean, there's all kinds of horrible things that being married is a bit of a protection against, right? Because it says you are in this family. And we don't want to go back to the bad old days where the kind of family you are or who you happen to be married to could be cause for discrimination.
My favorite quote about marriage equality comes from Willie Nelson when asked if he supported it, and he told Rolling Stone magazine, I'm all for it. He goes, they might as well be as miserable as the rest of us. So I always like that one.
Oh, poor Willie's wife.
I know, right? Look, as a person who happens to be gay myself, one of the most dreadful things, in my opinion, is this conversion therapy stuff, or so-called.
Oh, I know. This is horrible.
And if you haven't heard about it, the short version is, it is where people believe you can take a gay individual, usually a child or a teenager, and either, quote unquote, pray it away or send them to counseling to somehow make them straight. And I always tell people, I don't really do it anymore, but when it comes up and people would ask, I'm really not offended by the question, like, well, when did you decide to become gay? And I always say, well, at what point, what day can you name me when you said I'm straight? And it's just, you either are or you aren't.
Yeah, I mean, I think the cruelty here, we have to understand that conversion therapy is not therapy. It is abuse.
Yes.
And it causes real harm, especially to kids. And that's why this ban is really important, because it basically says if you get a license to practice from the state of Wisconsin that says you're a mental health professional, you're a counselor, you're a therapist, psychologist, that you may not engage in this totally discredited, anti-scientific, abusive practice. Now, if you're an adult and you want to find a priest to help you pray away the gay, that's your choice. But you can't hold yourself out as a mental health professional that's licensed by the state of Wisconsin and then abuse people in this way. And to me, that's something I'm very proud to be a part of. And, we have the largest LGBTQ caucus in the state history, and I'm really proud to be a part of that. And proud for us to all be authoring this bill together.
Well, we're here in June is Pride Month, and I appreciate your efforts. I appreciate the caucus's efforts, because at the end of the day, I think most people are just like, hey, I just want to be treated like anybody else.
Absolutely.
And be part of the community.
Yeah. I mean, listen,
large, right?
No matter who you are or where you're from, you should have the same rights.
Yeah, absolutely. State Senator Kelda Royce, we appreciate you. Hopefully by next week, your colleagues in Joint Finance will bring you in, so we'll find out.
Let's do it.
All right. She'll be back next week. We'll be back after the top of the news, weather and sports. It's the Allbaugh Show for Monday across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Text BREW for your chance to win.
That's right. Text BREW.
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 This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. The suspect in the Boulder flamethrower attack at a Jewish rally Sunday is appearing in court today. Federal prosecutors say charges include a hate crime for the targeted attack that injured 8 people. ABC's Alex Stone is in Boulder.
We know from these court documents that they now allege, prosecutors allege, that he had pre-planned this for over a year, even waiting for his daughter to graduate before he came here about 2 hours from Colorado Springs to Boulder, buying gas on his way here, planning this out, Googling an event, a pro-Israeli event, finding this one here in Boulder, and saying he was waiting to kill his victims, that he specifically wanted to kill them.
On Capitol Hill, Senate lawmakers beginning talks on that sweeping reconciliation package already passed by the House. Many GOP senators, though, along with Democrats, are opposed to the sweeping cuts, especially to Medicaid. Sean Diddy Combs' former personal assistant was back on the stand today in the former music mogul's sex trafficking trial. This is ABC News.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. Big breaking news over the weekend. Meritor Hospital and the Nurses Union have struck a deal. A statement from Meritor spokesperson Nicole Imani says they've reached an agreement everyone is proud of. She says that deal includes raises for the staff, which are already some of the highest paid nurses in the state. Amber Anderson is on the nurses bargaining team.
We fought for every penny they had to offer. We want an 8% increase across the board over 2 years.
Now, one of the big priorities all along for the Service Employees International Union was safety.
Unfortunately, while we were hopeful for more firm language that leads to action from the hospital, we were unable to come to an agreement on how to put that into contractual language. With that being said, we were able to win new language to continue to build upon that provides an opportunity to collaboratively work towards safety and security solutions.
The strike has officially ended and Meritor nurses are back in the building. Meanwhile, the heat is here. It's a hot one today, hottest we've seen yet. Meteorologist Brittany Merlot has more.
The jet stream is lifting north into Canada, and it's bringing the warm southern air with it. This means not only will the air temperatures rise well above normal, but the humidity is tagging along too. Dew point temperatures. Well, the best way to describe them is to think of it as the moisture in the air. 50s feels fine, 60s is starting to get sticky, and 70s is uncomfortable. You'll notice it start to feel a bit more muggy. Dew points spike to the mid-70s. You'll start to sweat sooner than you'd think, and it's usually uncomfortable conditions for most people. Be sure to stay hydrated and stay cool, especially because the air temperatures are going to rise to the mid-80s to near 90. We should get temporary relief on Saturday and Sunday, June 7th and 8th, which is perfect timing and coincides with Wisconsin's Free Fun Weekend. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot.
And I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. You're listening to 92.7 WMDX News.
On to Cincinnati. Hi, I'm Mike Clemens with sports. Baseball, the Brewers at Great American Ballpark tonight to open a 3-game set against the Cincinnati Reds. The Crew coming off a 5-2 win over the Phillies yesterday to complete the sweep, but they lost designated hitter Christian Yelich, hit by a pitch from the Phillies left-hander Ranger Suarez in the first inning.
Yeah, he got me pretty good. I hit the knob a little bit, just crushed the bottom of my hand also, so it is what it is. That stuff happens, but swelled up and made it tough to grip the bat. And, it's your bottom hand, so you don't have that. It's not strong enough, so made it tough.
X-rays after the game were negative. In golf, Maja Stark of Sweden, the winner of the Women's U.S. Open at Erin Hills in Wisconsin. She says she reached out to her coach at the start of the week for some last-minute pointers.
I had my coach here this week, and I texted him a couple of things, and I said, what do I do if my putting feels like this?
Anything you need, Todd? No, I'm good, thank you. Hi, Ben, Tom.
Good to meet you.
Good to see you. Good to see you in person.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
How was your weekend?
I spent 7 hours at the Rock and Roll.
Hey, Todd, can you have him scoot over for the camera?
It was notable.
Oh, yep. Just come over here. If you can, a little bit closer to them.
Okay.
You got to get in the shot there. There we go.
Okay. So I'm just, if it's okay, keep that within sight in case you ask me a question and I need to check on it.
We'll talk about the. Let's talk about the story on vaccinations first.
Yeah.
And then we'll kind of go to the one on the GOP mega bill check.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Sinners is doing that a studio movie was this interesting and creative and thoughtful, but also entertaining. This is not the
All right, how's your volume?
Testing 1 2.
Strong.
So we'll want it down a little bit.
Maybe just a tad.
Yeah. All right. Testing 1 2. Down. Testing 1 2. Down a little further. Or,
No,
okay.
that's good,
All right.
thank you.
So just yeah. Hold on. I tell people to kind of like not quite, but almost
to
eat
touch.
the microphone. Yeah.
Okay.
Android robots.
Okay.
You've been assimilated into the Borg.
We are into the Borg. Be kind of cool.
The Borg hearing.
If they haven't, we should latch onto that. The John and Gordy Borg hearing aid devices at a special discount.
All right, 30 seconds.
Morning, 6 till
Okay.
8.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with our outstanding producer and engineer, Mr. Aaron Zommers, on the board. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. Welcome into hour number 2 on the big program at the world headquarters of Civic Media in downtown Madison, where Zommers' sun's trying to come out, but that hazy smoke coming down, that Canadian smoke, is still in the air. Going to be here at least through tomorrow, I think.
But it's not too bad. I think it was worse Friday. At least, just it looks like it was worse Friday.
Yes, absolutely. It's the darn pollen. It's my allergies that are driving me crazy over the weekend and today as well. So hope you all are taking care of yourselves. Get some water in you and try to stay maybe inside for a couple of days. They say rain moving across the parts of the state tomorrow. Some places in Wisconsin may see some potentially, keyword potentially, severe weather tomorrow. So keep it here on Civic Media and your local weather source, and we'll keep you up to date on all that. Many thanks to State Senator Keller Royce for being here at hour 1. Always does a great job. Brings along a little Taylor Swift. Thanks to Aaron Zommers as well. That's a lot of fun. Coming up later this hour, we will do a What's Worse for You, be asking you about driving. And I have a little story about driving this weekend. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up later this hour and take your phone calls as well. But right now, joining me live at the table, how about that, Zommers? 2 in-studio guests in a row. I feel like I've won the lottery here in guests today. Mr. Tom Kirshner, he joined us last week via StreamYard. He is here in the studio today from Wisconsin to watch. Tom, thanks for being back.
You're welcome. Good to be with you.
It's not, I always like a good in-person interview because the vibe is better. I don't know.
Agree.
It's so thanks for making the trip over here.
Yeah.
How was your weekend?
Great. I made my first visit to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. Spent about 7 hours there over 2 days.
That is great. My dad and I went several years ago and did a dad-son weekend. And that is remarkable. For those that don't know, it's built like a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool. Isn't it right on Lake Erie?
Yeah, that's right. I was drawn by a new exhibit, the 50 Years of Music on SNL. It's a new exhibit.
Really?
And so spent a lot of time with that. And yeah, if I were to recommend it, I would say aim for going to the Hall of Fame when there's a special exhibit like that that appeals to you, or another event, maybe a concert, something like that.
Yeah. I bet that has to be remarkable because I think a lot of us think of all the actors from John Belushi to Dana Carvey to, the cast from today. But you look at the people that appear musically over the years, sometimes big first appearances, sometimes comebacks, sometimes controversial.
Yeah, what impressed me was being reminded after going through the clips, and you could watch some films that kind of summarize things, but you could also search out people by artists, by year, by show. And yeah, the range, right? So they've got some, super hot band in the moment, one-hit wonders, but then the legends, and then the people sort of in between, like a Leon Russell, for example, that maybe the average person doesn't know, but SNL appreciated how authentic artists like him were and how important they were.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Lorne Michaels, the longtime executive producer of that show, noted for bringing actors onto the scene, but I think he deserves credit for pushing some of that musical stuff as well.
Yeah, you did hear about that during the exhibit, and I think he thought it was, another way of SNL being relevant and sort of being a time capsule, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, it was great.
Thanks for sharing a little bit about that with us. Well, a little bit closer to home here on the other side of Lake Erie, closer to Lake Michigan here in Wisconsin. And these stories you can find at Wisconsin, spelled out, wisconsinwatch.org. You had a great piece here just today, actually, hitting the online, entitled "Wisconsin, once a leader in childhood vaccinations, now a leader in vaccine skepticism."
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we were at Wisconsin Watch, were struck by a story in The Economist recently that talked about how much the vaccination rate in Wisconsin, specifically for measles, had dropped in comparison to other states. And it caused us to want to look deeper. So we put out a call to readers, made a post online, asked people to write in with suggestions or questions. And what I did is took a look at why, one reason why the vaccination rates in Wisconsin are down, and it's because of something called a personal conviction exemption.
Personal conviction exemption. Please explain.
So
it sounds like an insurance policy or something.
Yeah.
If my car breaks, I'm sorry we don't cover it because of the personal exemption or whatever.
Yeah. Just to take a step back, first of all, Wisconsin, as all states do, has vaccination requirements to enter school, public school, private school, even child care centers. So it's very common. And the vast majority of Wisconsin kids do get the required vaccinations, over 89% in the last check. So we don't want to give the wrong impression that it's dropping dramatically. But, for a disease like measles, for example, to reach what's called herd immunity, where people in a given community are considered to be protected from a disease, you need a vaccination rate around 95%. So the fact that overall we're down to 89 and dropping in recent years, is cause for, if not concern, at least questions about why and what are the implications.
Is there any correlation that can be proven, or is it speculative at this point that those reductions, particularly in measles, might have been from the Trump/MAGA movement of anti-vaccine, which first started with COVID, and now it's just been exacerbated, not only that, but made worse, by the new Health and Human Services Secretary, Mr. Kennedy?
Some of the people I spoke to do point to that, to COVID, and in the years since then, some vaccine fatigue, some questions about safety, some questions about, is the government maybe a little too cozy with pharmaceutical companies? Are we really rigorously testing these vaccines the way they should be? So that does seem to have, seeped into the consciousness. So I mentioned the personal conviction waiver or exemption. That's an example of what's happened as the skepticism has increased. So there's always been people who have exempted their children from vaccinations through a medical reason. They go to the doctor.
Sure.
The doctor says, hey, you're an exceptional case. Don't get a vaccination. It's too risky. Or you could state a religious conviction against vaccination. But what's changed in the last generation is a big increase, relatively speaking, in the number of parents who are deciding for personal beliefs, personal convictions, to exempt their child. And it's as simple as stating in writing, I have a personal opposition to vaccinations. I don't want my child vaccinated. And, a generation ago, those personal waivers, personal conviction waivers represented about 1% of kids who are exempted. And now it's up to more than 5%.
Wow. I'm just struck by this. We're talking with Tom Kirshner of Wisconsin Watch here, at 14 minutes, almost 15 past the hour of 3 o'clock. I was struck by, my mom is a woman of a certain age in her mid 70s or so. And she's told stories of when the vaccinations first came out for measles and polio. And at that time in small town, Richland Center of 5,000, she said it was put out all over town, and people would, after church services, would head up to and stand in line at the hospital and were thankful that these vaccines, because they knew they had grown up with people that had polio and died of it, and measles and rubella, and were so thankful. And it seems to be, Tom, and you find this in your reporting, that now that generation is getting older and that some of them are dying off, there are less stories being told about what happens when you don't get vaccinated.
Yeah, it used to be kind of second nature, right? That's what you did. Everyone got vaccinated. The Wisconsin law actually goes back to, I think, 1882, the first one that required vaccination. So it's part of the fabric of our society. But you're right. I think as the decades have passed, we don't hear about people dying from polio anymore. And you sort of think, well, gee, that's been eradicated, when in fact, if we don't continue to vaccinate, there's the risk of a new outbreak.
And that's my personal concern. Putting politics aside for a minute, it's about the cruelty of it. And I just think that fewer people pay attention. And I honestly believe that there are some people that are MAGA followers who are like, oh, that's not a problem. We're just doing it. We don't need that. And it's so sad that it's going to take death and tragedy to make people realize, no, this wasn't a political thing that was made up. This was science.
Yeah, there's such strong feelings on this, right? Just what you described. On one hand, on the other hand, shouldn't a parent have the right to decide what goes into their child's body, what sort of medicine is taken? And so you can appreciate on that level, on sort of individual level, why a person might want to question or resist. And, if they look at the number of vaccinations over time, and boy, this is such a young child, do we really need this? I mean, a person could even point out now, I'm not saying this is a reliable indicator, but even though the vaccination rate in Wisconsin has dropped and is relatively low for measles, has there been any measles outbreak in Wisconsin yet? No.
That's the thing, right? And people are like, well, see, nothing bad happened yet.
Right.
And then you look at Texas, where in particular, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was the Amish or Mennonite community, which, again, that's a small group of people, relatively speaking, across America that for religious reasons traditionally have said, no, we don't do vaccines. But now that combined with a larger non-Amish and population, Mennonite population, that's combining with that reduces the herd immunization rate.
Yeah, there's certainly that risk. I talked to Representative Lisa Subeck from here in Madison, and she introduced a bill back in 2023 to get rid of the personal conviction waiver in the state law, in the hopes that it would keep vaccination rates higher. It didn't go anywhere. That at that time, she said she's thought about reintroducing it again this year, but not with any idea that it would become law. So another group that's involved in supporting organizations that do vaccinations says, let's take a different tack. Maybe it's not legislation getting rid of that exemption. We want to put our efforts into education, telling people what you just described, what the risks are if vaccination rates get low, and responding to what they call misinformation, out there that,
go ahead.
Yeah, that this vaccination organization talked about the fact that there's certainly some parents who have genuine convictions, and others they think are acting out of misinformation. And so they want to try to counter that as a way to push up vaccination rates, as opposed to changing the law to take away an exemption.
And that, to me, is what is so dangerous, Tom, is that people now are creating their own truths out there for lack of good journalism, like what happens at Wisconsin Watch. As the late, great U.S. Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan once said to a woman in a committee hearing, "My dear, you are entitled to your own opinions. You are not entitled to your own facts." One of my favorite former U.S. senators. Welcome back, one of our favorite reporters, Tom Kircher of Wisconsin Watch, talking about a little fact check on the GOP out in Washington. Don't go anywhere. It's the Allbaugh Show for a Monday across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network. They don't make them like that anymore.
92.7 WMDX.
Yeah, the word I associate with him
but
is
not always.
patrician.
Like when you're relaxing on your patio,
You never hear that
enjoying
word
a
anymore.
nice
Somebody who's a patrician.
Oh, right,
Which
right.
I think, if I remember
Except
right,
for the sound of
means
the neighbor's party.
erudite, graceful, thoughtful.
Which you said you'd go to if you weren't busy.
A legislator's legislator.
That's
Yeah,
not
over
exactly
there.
busy, is it? Maybe you should just stay inside. At least Progressive's Home Quote Explorer lets you
think he
easily
was-
compare rates, so shopping for
I think he was
insurance
a little
is the
bit of
easiest part of owning a home.
eclectic too, if I
Progressive
remember
casualty
right.
insurance
You know,
company affiliates and
liberal
third-party
from
insurers.
what
Comparison rates not available in all
Yep,
sectors, situations.
yep,
Prices vary
But I
based on
think he
how you buy.
also had some views
Hey,
about
Gordy, how you doing?
worries
Oh,
about
Arthur,
welfare.
great to see you. What are you doing in the studio?
Right.
Well,
I need
Yeah,
to talk
he
to you about
wasn't
doing a commercial.
in today's world
Well,
would be
you
considered
know,
progressive.
commercial on the air here. You just go down to the
But
sales department. It's right next
yeah,
to the
I miss
bathroom.
people like that.
Who
Who are truly
Oh, I
thoughtful, like,
understand plenty. You salespeople
hey, I don't
drink a
have
lot
to
of
believe
coffee.
in
That's why
one
the
certain
bathrooms are
ideology 100%.
Right, but
Right.
I need to have you.
Right.
Not like one side is always right,
Right.
the other side's always
Wait,
wrong.
wait.
There's some
Commercial
game
about a
crap.
commercial?
where
I don't
both
follow.
sides are
I
playing
want
doing
to tell
live
potential
stream.
business owners out there how to contact me to get a commercial
So I'd
on
suggested
WMDX.
3 fact checks. I don't know if you want to
Okay, let's come
Yeah,
up
what do you
with
want to do?
something.
stick on one or 2 or 3.
All right, no, you tell me what you want to do.
Right?
Yeah.
I guess
Okay,
we have a
what's the
question
email?
time.
Huh?
Yeah, I thought we would start with
Sales
the
at WMDXradio.
65%
Oh, wait, run that by me again.
tax increase.
Sales
Yep.
at WMDXradio.com.
And then,
So we could put all that together.
fourth grade
and get
reading
into a
scores.
commercial, get on the air
Okay.
soon.
Arthur, my
And
friend,
then
I think we just
transgender
did.
as mental illness.
Advertise on WMDX Radio.
But
Email
again,
Arthur.
those are all
sales
from
at
the state
WMDXradio.com.
GOP convention. So
Spring is
effective.
here. Make your lawn the envy of the neighborhood.
One thing
with
that's in
EV3
common about them.
landscaping. With 15 years of top quality service, they treat your property like their own. 608-209-2185 for expert care and a vibrant tomorrow.
At Chance Design Build, we provide remodeling done well with love. Our commitments extend beyond our workplace and your home to support our community. We judge people by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin, and we believe all humans deserve quality, publicly funded education, childcare, and health
Here,
care.
I didn't know. I just thought Luke printed out the first
Chance
one.
Design
Here,
Build, we
20
believe
seconds.
every
Give me all,
person must
all
have
three
the
of them.
I'm good.
Pursuing truth wherever it may lead and having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network for a Monday, the 2nd of June. That's right, we're into June already here for 2025. 22 past 3. Glad to have you along. Tom Kircher is here from Wisconsin Watch a little bit later on this hour. We'll do a driving edition of What's Worse and talk about some more of the news headlines of the day. But Tom, take us through some of these fact checks. This is your wheelhouse. This is what I love about some of your much of your writing is you keep people honest, and that's fantastic. The Republican Party of Wisconsin had their recent convention, and maybe needs a little fact checking.
Yeah, so just to explain a little bit what we do at Wisconsin Watch, we have something called fact briefs. Brief as in 150-word stories, so very quick.
Oh, nice.
The format is posed as a question and answer. Is it raining today? Yes or no? And then we answer the question in 150 words.
I like that.
And that may sound, sort of too simplistic, but there is quite a bit of research that we put in. The articles are quick to read, but people will see the footnotes we add to show that we do quite a bit of research on
I think
these.
it's great.
Yeah, thank you. So we're always on the hunt and always looking for suggestions if readers want to contact Wisconsin Watch with a fact check suggestion. So I'm constantly looking at interviews, talk shows, podcasts, you name it, primarily at what politicians are saying on those things. But I also attended the Wisconsin Republican Party state convention last month and decided to fact check 3 statements that came out of that.
All right. Number one statement, true or false? Go ahead.
So, Representative Derek Van Orden, one of our congressmen, was speaking about the big, beautiful bill, the major federal budget
What Trump
bill.
calls it, yeah.
Yeah, is being debated now in Congress. He said that if that big bill did not pass, the vast majority of Americans would see a 65% tax increase. The answer to that is no.
Incorrect.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
So one of the things that would happen if that big bill does not become law is that some of what are known as Trump tax cuts will go away. But most people will see, if that happens, if the big, beautiful bill does not become law, most people would see a tax increase in the range of 20%, not insignificant, right? But far from 65%, which is what he claimed.
And most of those, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of 20% that might see increases are not people making $45,000, $50,000 a year.
Yeah, that's a average figure, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Fact check number 2, Mr. Kircher. Does Mississippi rank higher than Wisconsin in 4th grade reading scores? Explain.
So again, this was at the convention. Another Wisconsin Congressman, Tom Tiffany, used the phrase that Mississippi has passed up Wisconsin in reading. The answer is yes, although I would say with an asterisk in this case. So every 2 years, there's a national reading proficiency assessment.
Yeah.
And 4th grade is the key level there. And in 2024, Mississippi increased a little bit, Wisconsin decreased a little bit, and in fact, Mississippi did pass Wisconsin for reading proficiency for 4th graders. The asterisk on that is that the agency that puts out the test said that's not a significant difference. So technically, there's a 1 percentage point difference.
Within the margin of error, to use a polling term, perhaps.
Yeah, and I guess what's important to know there is, for people in Wisconsin, if they're concerned, it's true that the proficiency rate in Wisconsin has been dropping a little bit. So that's something to focus on. At the same time, Mississippi has been referred to as the Mississippi miracle in recent years. They put a lot of money into improving literacy, and it seems to have paid off.
And good for Mississippi. I also think coming from a family of educators, and I'm not trying to disparage this particular study, but I think some of these tests that they're doing right now, it depends what kind of the day the kid is having, what the situation is. I'm not a big believer that you can take one score and say, well, this is representative of everything that our kids know.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. I guess this does have the advantage of having been around a long time and being standardized and done every 2 years. But right, it's one measure.
Yeah, one measure. All right, and final fact check from the Wisconsin Republican Party convention. I can't believe it was real, but it is. Is being transgender classified as a mental illness? Explain.
So a congresswoman from South Carolina, Nancy Mace, was one of the guest speakers at the Wisconsin convention. Her statement was to the effect that women shouldn't be forced to share bathrooms with what she called mentally ill people. So the suggestion was that she was referring to people who are transgender. Years ago, more than a decade ago, there were designations like that from, for example, the American Psychiatric Association, but that's changed. It's been changed for quite some time. Being transgender in and of itself is not considered by authorities to be a mental illness. Now, there's some gender dysphoria, where a person who is uncertain about their sexuality, how their gender fits, may experience distress because of that. But that's an entirely different thing than saying
separate.
You're mentally ill because you're transgender.
Yeah, I just find it particularly cruel, particularly now that we're in Pride Month. And I was in small business for a while, and had the opportunity to meet some transgender folks that were clients of ours and to listen to their stories. And we all have a story, right? It doesn't matter who we are. We're all going on a journey. And many of these folks have struggled and fought through things and discrimination and stigma and stereotypes and are very strong individuals, actually. And to label someone as a mental illness, I just find it naive and cruel and extraordinarily partisan from Congresswoman Mason's point.
Yeah, she was very strong on, I'm going to protect you. I'm with you. girls and women. I'm going to be out there protecting you. You shouldn't have to compete against men. You shouldn't have to share locker rooms with men. I'm on your side. So that was sort of her message, but then obviously going beyond by making a
Why is it that it's
claim.
never transgender people attacking people in bathrooms? It's usually somebody from the local church that happens to be straight. Anyway, Tom Kircher from Wisconsin Watch, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you. We'll see you next week.
All right, Todd.
Stay tuned. What's Worse is next on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Listening to 92.7 WMDX.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
The Wisconsin Farmers Union is going through some changes with the new executive director, Danielle Envik. I'm Ben Jarbo with the Midwest Farm Report, and I had an opportunity to speak with her and learn about some of her top priorities for the union.
When we talk about addressing corporate consolidation and promoting open, competitive markets that really give family farmers a fair shot. Thinking about things like requiring mandatory country of origin labeling for beef. Right now, it's a little murky about what's going on with imported beef. So tightening up some of those, loopholes that are happening. Strengthening enforcement of the Packers and Stockyards Act would go a long ways. Also investing in promoting and supporting more diversified market opportunities.
And Vic also says that at their headquarters in Chippewa Falls, they also have an event center that they're hoping more people come to. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo, and we'll take a look at those closing markets right after this.
Giving back. It's at the heart of the Wisconsin farmer, and it starts with supporting the backbones of our community. That's why the Wisconsin Soybean Marketing Board invests in soy foam for our firefighters. Soy foam TF1122 is the first and only firefighting foam green screen certified at the gold level. As a PFAS-free firefighting foam, it's safe for you and the environment. A safe future for your community. Thanks to your soy checkoff. Learn more at wisoybean.org.
Yeah, those fact briefs. That's nice.
Across Wisconsin in
Yeah, it
a
is.
suburban truck. Thanks to Blaine's Farm and Fleet. The
Is Mark still there? If he is,
steel
we'll
family
go.
owned
We'll
since
take his call
1955.
next before we do what's worse.
And thanks to Monarch Media Design. The experts at Monarch can do everything from vinyl graphics to full trailer wraps. Serving Madison since 2000. Monarch specializes in vehicle wraps and graphics.
He is indeed.
Keep up with Pam at MidwestFarmReport.com and on Facebook.
Yes,
and
Mark, I
Instagram.
believe you can hear us right now. I'm pretty sure. If you can't, it's not a big deal that you don't hear this. But
Hang in there, Mark.
Yeah.
In Chicago. It's a bit of a
Sometimes
mixed bag on
when
the close
people hang up,
today as
the
cash
call
corn
still
is
shows
down
up. So that's why we
5
weren't sure if you
3/4
were still
cents
there.
at 438 1/4, with new crop corn down 2 3/4 at 435 3/4. Cash soybeans are also seeing a loss, down 8 1/4 cents at 1033 1/2, with new crop soybeans down 9 3/4 at 1017. July wheat saw a gain of 5 cents and is sitting at 539. Class 3 milk contracts for June are down 7 cents at 1910 a hundredweight, with July contracts up 10 cents at 1964 a hundredweight. 40-pound blocks of cheese finished up 3/4 of a penny at 195 1/2, and butter closed up 3 1/2 cents at 251. With the look at your closing markets from the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
More of that smoky haze in the sky today, otherwise partly cloudy and warm with a high in the mid-80s this afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy with temperatures dropping into the low to mid-60s.
Say something?
Tomorrow night,
No, I was just making a Purple Rain joke about smoke.
highs
What
tomorrow
he
in the mid to upper 70s. I'm meteorologist Sean Cable.
Sean
Right now,
Cable
it's
said about
80.
it was a little smoky
Day one,
haze.
the hardest day. The day you hear.
Smoke weed every day.
Day one is just one day. At the Leukemia
Got a
and
smoker's
Lymphoma
cough there,
Society,
Todd?
we are
I know
gonna
it
help
sounds
you
like it, but
move
no, it's
past
just the
day
darn
one.
allergies are terrible. Sorry, everybody.
I swear my house is drowning in dogwood.
And LLS helped me keep up.
To learn more and get help
Really?
on day
Yeah.
2, day
So
28,
much of it.
or any day, please visit LLS.org or call 1-800-955 855-4572.
Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
Matt Miller, Milwaukee-based film critic. The film Sinners, the more distance I,
still
have
need
from
to
it, the
see
more I liked
Sinners.
it. Is that an Oscar film?
I think there is a love for what Sinners is doing, that a studio movie was this
right,
interesting
30
and
seconds.
creative
Thank you.
and thoughtful.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 35 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Many thanks, Tom Kircher from Wisconsin Watch, being here for another Monday. Always great to catch up on Wisconsin headlines with him. Nice job, Somers. Going to talk about driving in just a minute. But Mark from Prairie du Sac has been extraordinarily patient. Mark, thanks for hanging on. We wanted to get to those interviews done here. But we, in the show about an hour ago, we played a cut from U.S. Senator Joni Ernst from Iowa, or as my grandparents used to call it, Iowa. I don't know why they called it Iowa. Anyway, down in Iowa last weekend, or over Friday, I think it happened, Joni Ernst was in a town hall talking about the Medicaid, Medicare cuts out there in D.C. with the big reconciliation bill. And one of her constituents, the Iowan, stood up and said, this is going to kill people, which of course it is, if it goes through and passes and Trump signs it into law. And Joni Ernst said, well, everybody's going to die sometime. And then gave not even a half-hearted apology. I believe it was on her Instagram or Twitter over the weekend, which she filmed, by the way, in a cemetery, and made fun of the person in a half-baked apology in which she said, yes, it's true. I'm sorry I told that person that we're all going to die. And I'm really glad I didn't have to tell her that the tooth fairy wasn't real either.
Right. It was the kind of thing where, you know, you're a little kid and your parents are like, now you need to apologize to your brother or sister. And you're like, I'm sorry, you're so stupid.
Right.
Yeah. It was that. That's what it was.
That's a good way to put it. So anyway, Mark from Prairie du Sac wanted to comment on that. Mark, thanks for holding around to listen to the show. What do you want to say about this?
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, it's interesting she would say something like that. You know, setting aside the whole point, it is our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, not her personal, you know, that Jesus doesn't belong to her. I mean, if that is your religious bent. But I mean, that the whole surplus population that I think that these Republicans are thinking about the whole time is that it reminds me of Scrooge, you know, that the warning of the second spirit saying that, you know, beware, you know, you might not know who the surplus population is. And as far as like the tooth fairy, believing in the tooth fairy, I don't know if I brought it up on this show before, but there's an interesting book by Terry Pratchett called Hogfather, where Death is actually commenting to his adopted granddaughter about the importance of believing in the little myths like the tooth fairy and the boogeyman and all that kind of thing, is that we need to believe in these little myths so we can believe in the big ones. He makes the comment, take the universe and grind it to the finest powder, run it through the finest sieve, show them one molecule of mercy, one molecule of justice. The only reason we believe in those things is we believe in those things and bring them into existence. So, I mean, that Joni Ernst should actually be looking to the fact that we actually had to believe in our fellow man, believe in justice and mercy, and actually believe in what Jesus actually said in the Gospels, is that we are supposed to be taking care of one another as individuals and as nations. And if you don't do that, you are doomed and you are damned.
Yeah, Mark, it's so interesting, and I appreciate you bringing this up, that when I heard the remarks on Friday, I think it was, from Joni Ernst, I thought the exact same thing, because way long ago, I played Ebenezer Scrooge on stage at Christmas Carol. And I'll get the exact quote wrong right now. But again, it's this scene early on in the show in which the two towns guys are trying to raise money. And they're kind of walking, kind of trolling, literally, following Scrooge around town, trying to get him to contribute. And Scrooge finally says, something along the lines of, are there no prison houses and poor houses? My taxes, unfortunately, I have to keep going to them. And they say something like, well, unfortunately, sir, they are. And Scrooge says, good. I thought that my tax money wasn't being used right. And someone said, one of the guys says to Scrooge, says, sir, many would rather die than go there. And Scrooge responds, let them, and decrease the surplus population. Mark, I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah, it is just tragic. I mean, and remember the two starveling children underneath the second spirit's robes, ignorance and want. I mean, the want is bad. The girl was want and the boy was ignorance. But ignorance is actually, on the bow of ignorance is written doom. And Joni Ernst had better brush up on her teaching literature that we all should be well. My mother used to read the Christmas Carol to us every year at Christmas time when we were children, small children.
Yeah.
I mean, and that lesson has never left me.
Actually, Joni Ernst, by the way, Mark, it was reported yesterday that Joni Ernst told her staff she was afraid she was visited by one of the ghosts of Christmas past. It turned out to be Chuck Grassley. So right there, it turns. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, Mark. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. What are your thoughts on this whole deal? That with again, I just think it's cruel. It is absolutely cold-hearted, chilling. Joni Ernst is frigid.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And I seriously, like I said before, it's toddler behavior. It's, I'm sorry, you're so stupid. And treating it like a joke when people are going to die if this bill passes because they won't be able to afford what they need to live.
Well, and we heard from State Senator Kelda Royce right here in this studio earlier in this show that Wisconsinites are going to die if this bill passes as is. And you say, well, Todd, how do you know? You can't tell if anybody's going to die or not. What we know for sure is there will be some nursing home, elder care facilities that will not be able to function because they won't have the money. They won't have the staff. If those places aren't there, people will ultimately die. As someone who has helped get a grandparent into a nursing facility like that, it depends on your income. And if you're not able to pay your own way, and many of these places now, anywhere between $6,000 and $9,000 a month. A month.
They're expensive.
They're very expensive. So if you're unable to pay your own way, and many people are not, then you have to go to a care facility that accepts Medicaid, Medicare dollars. And there's only so many beds reserved within that institution. I shouldn't call it institution, but within that facility that are Medicaid, Medicare beds eligible. And if they're full, they're full. Some people will travel an hour plus to find a nursing care facility that has a bed available that takes that program. I think a lot of people, unless you've been through it, and I get it if you haven't been there, but as somebody who's helped family members get into these places as they age, you just think, well, when I get old, they got to take me. I'm just going to go there. No, that is not how it works. So I guess I would just ask everybody, think, if it were your grandpa or grandma, if it were your mom or dad, if it were you, would you want to have to travel an hour, 2 hours? Do you have that ability? And if not, people will die. 855-752-4842. 855-752-4842. Let's go up to beautiful Eau Claire, listening on WCFW The Tap. Gene, we were just up there last week. Thanks for calling in, Gene. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, but this is a great show, and you always have a great show, so I'm not disappointed. But
Appreciate
thank
that.
you for covering this particularly, because that was cruel, vile, and anti-American. They are anti-American as anybody can get. The cruelty, just the divisiveness, the chaos. they're not trying to work for America. They're trying to hurt it. And when I saw her do that, I was sickened. And then when I saw her response, I thought, lady, you need to be locked up for your own health because these people watch them sometime. Everybody needs to watch these people when they speak. There's something going on with their eyes. Watch their eyes. And it's like, the hatred and the repulsiveness they act like when they have to talk to the people in our states and in our communities. It's disgusting, and I hope people wake up because we really need to come together and get these people out of our country before they out of this office before they destroy our country.
Office,
But thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Gene. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Have a great day. Bye-bye. 855-752-4842. What are your thoughts on Joni Ernst's comments here over the weekend? Where are we going, Zommers, here? All right, let's go out to Los Angeles, California. L.A. Tom. L.A., thanks for listening. What say you?
Hey, guys. Yeah, I think it's time factually that we could say that the Republican Party is the pro-death party and the Democratic Party is actually the pro-life party. And for any people out there, just remember that it's Republicans that seem to just enjoy wars and they seem to enjoy putting people to death. They enjoy starving kids. They enjoy everything that's happened with USAID. They seem to find pleasure in it. And I just really think that they are the pro-death party.
I think that this is a really interesting take. I'm not quite ready to lump every single person with an R behind their name into that specific take on it. But LA, I think you bring up a really interesting point in that the MAGA Republican Party is fixated on quote unquote pro-life. And yet here is a prominent member of their Senate Republican caucus saying basically we're all going to die and I don't care. Tom, that doesn't seem like a real pro-life take to me.
Absolutely, and I would also say that Nancy Mace she's weird, man. She's like so obsessed with the bathrooms. Get a life, you people that are so obsessed with your bathroom. I just don't get it. I mean, it's like,
has a problem.
Yeah, no, she
and they're cruising.
What?
I think they're the ones that are in there cruising the bathrooms or something.
I said that earlier. I said it's not the transgender folks that are getting arrested in bathrooms. It's the straight priests and not priests, but youth workers and people from churches. That's
100%.
That's usually who it is. All right, thanks, Ellie.
Exactly.
Have a great day. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to Carol on WMDX in Madison. Carol, thanks for calling. What say you?
Hi, Todd. If I was older and needed to go to a nursing home and didn't have the money and was facing homelessness, I would seriously consider suicide, and I wouldn't call 988. I would, because it's not fair to make my family, I don't have any children myself. My parents have passed on. My mom after more than 6 years in a nursing home. And, it's like even the mental health of this country is going to go to hell.
Yeah.
It's a scary place right now.
Carol, I can't thank you enough for calling in. First of all, just know you're not alone. And I certainly want you here. We all want you here. But I get your point in that I think there is a sense that once people get to a certain age, it's like rather than going into a place where I don't feel like I'm going to be taken care of, I'm not sure that I would want to go there, right?
Yeah.
No, it's scary times indeed, but I really, really, really do appreciate that call and that take. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. When we come back, Tom is on the line from Madison, and then we'll do a speed round of what's worst. 855-752-4842 is the Allbaugh Show for Monday on Civic Media.
Weather and sports on air and streaming on the Civic Media app. This is the Civic Media Radio Network.
Hey, at the end of the day, everybody wants the same thing from their mattress. A good night's rest, am I right? It's not rocket science. You don't need a physics genius to make you a futuristic space bed. You just need someone to listen to what you want and who knows the materials that will get you there. And you might even be surprised to learn that that someone could be living right next door. At Verlo, we're your friendly neighborhood mattress genius. American made, locally crafted. Welcome to Verlo.
It's time for Civic Media's Scotty Summer Text to Win contest right here on this local Civic Media radio station. We want to hook you up with $100 cash, Milwaukee Brewers club level tickets, and the chance to win a summer getaway to the Wisconsin Dells area or an escape to Door County. Download the free Civic Media app in the Google Play or App Store. Then listen in for the keywords during the 7 and 11 a.m. hour and 2 and 4 p.m. hour. Text in the keyword and get set to win. It's Civic Media's Scotty Summer.
No more mold, no more damage, no more slipping and hurting. Make your ordinary bathroom extraordinary for only $99 per month. New shower, new door, new tub, new wall, new anti-slip technology. BCI Bath and Shower is made in America for the highest quality. First 50 callers save $1,500 on a never clear glass treated door. BCI Bath and Shower. Interest-free financing options. 800-329-4115. 800-329-4115. 800-329-4115.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. In discussions over the so-called Big Beautiful Bill backed by Donald Trump that's making its way through Congress, none other than Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson has emerged as the most prominent Republican critic of the bill, saying at a recent Milwaukee Press Club event that it is, quote, not even close to adequate. Johnson has said he wants spending cuts to go even further, including making cuts to Medicaid. But Johnson's position as a critic of this bill makes him especially influential in these negotiations. But let's not forget the last time he was in a similar position. In 2017, he was a critic of the Trump tax cut bill, but what he fought for was a tax break for certain types of businesses, perhaps not coincidentally, businesses owned by his largest donors, Dick and Liz Uline. In 2018 alone, the Ulines received more than $200 million in tax breaks because of this bill. So as the Big Beautiful Bill is negotiated in the Senate, let's not forget this piece of recent history.
Find all of Dan's work at the recombobulation area.
Something
Skilled trade
sounded weird
workers are
about
the
that, like
backbone of
stretched.
every community, and
Oh,
also
really?
the Army
Talk to
National
those
Guard.
only half
Soldiers
listening.
trained to
Just
keep the
look at
power
my
flowing,
mail
engines
here.
running, and in every
What?
other trade.
I was only half listening
Oh,
to
okay.
the spot. Sorry.
30 seconds.
Thank you. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is now 8 before the hour of 4 o'clock at the top of the hour. It is ABC and CBS News for you, depending upon which of our great stations you're in tune to. And then a news, weather, and sports update. Our great sports reporter, Mike Clemens, is in. Brewers got a big win last night, sweeping the Phillies. Christian Yelich got struck by a pitch on one of his hands. X-rays, though, today, thankfully, are negative. Just going to need a couple of days off to rehab that. And then the Maggie Dawn Show every afternoon from 4 until 6, followed by Pete Schwaba and Nightlight, along with Conrad, his trusty sidekick and engineer. Always a great way to end your day, Nightlight, from 6 until 8.
Pete's here tonight, actually.
Pete's here. Pete's here. Pete is not here. Pete is here.
Pete Schwaba will be in the Madison studio.
Wow. I did not know that. I'm looking forward to that. All right, let's go back to the phone lines, 855-752-4842. Tom in Madison holding on. Did you want to comment on the Joni Ernst comments over the weekend?
Oh, definitely. She's always been a bit of an eccentric, and I just saw the Under the Desk news story about, if you recall, about 11 years ago or so, she had the Squeal campaign.
Squeal campaign? Do tell.
Squeal. No, definitely look it up. It's it was about her love of castrating hogs, and she ran. I'm not making this up. She was running political ads, And in fact, when she was elected, she got a plaque from Lindsey Graham that says, "Make 'em squeal, Joni," with a pig with a castration tool attached to the plaque.
Can confirm Tom is not making this up. This is real.
Wow.
Wow. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, besides the disgusting thing she just said about, life.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's always been a little bit weird. And it's time to, midterms are coming up. It's time to get rid of this MAGA craziness in the next election. This is nuts.
Appreciate the call, Tom. Thanks so much. Have a great day. She has a Democratic opponent already. This guy seems like a pretty cool dude and pretty centrist type of guy. And he's already running across Iowa. And so maybe this is why Joni Ernst is trying to get some attention. I'm laughing because Sean up in Richland Center listening on WRCE on the text says, "What's worse? Joni Ernst."
All right, there it is. Just pack it in.
Yeah, we should just pack. All right, we'll do this quick. Here we go. It's time once again for What's Worse. Let's go. I can't talk that fast. All right, here we go. Nothing to give away. No prize money involved. We gave away the Brewers tickets in the first hour of the show. Here's the category today: driving slow in the fast lane or tailgating. Driving slow in the fast lane or tailgating. 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842, or text us on the Civic Media app. Driving slow in the fast lane or tailgating. Zombers?
I'm going to have to say tailgating is worse. Like, yeah, driving slow in the fast lane sucks, but you can see it ahead of time and slow down accordingly. Tailgating, you can't see anything. You're right behind them. And so if someone has to hit the brakes, you're going to crash into them.
Yeah.
If you're right behind, you have no reaction time.
I would agree most of the time, although I think like when you're on interstate or whatever and there's somebody like going 45 miles an hour
That is
on the
also
left,
dangerous.
that's also very dangerous. 855-752-4842. Tom on YouTube says both equally are worse. All right, very good. What else? AJ in Madison says people that drive slow in the fast lane drive me crazy.
That reminds me of a text we got earlier. What was it? It was that usually if something drives you crazy, Lennon Madison said when something is quote unquote driving you crazy, it's usually a short drive.
Oh, that's true. That's very true. What's worse, slow driving or driving slow in the fast lane or tailgating? 855-752-4842. All right, I'll tell the quick version. So on the show and in private, I have stated that I thought it was in Wisconsin, right turn, no stop.
I don't remember you saying this because I would have fought back on that.
There was a big discussion at my niece's graduation last week over a campfire and some beverages. And I was shot down by everyone, including a veteran, Sean Holly, who is adamant that I was absolutely wrong, his lovely and talented wife, Lisa, my brother-in-law, who follows every rule by the book, God love him, he's a stand-up citizen. And then I look at my sister, who oftentimes will have some empathy for me, and she looks at me and she goes, no, you're wrong. I said, no, I think it's right turn, no stop.
This must have been on a show where I wasn't producing because I know that's definitely not the law.
So anyway, I'm going to Monroe last night, or this weekend on Saturday, and I went through the beautiful town of Argyle. And I came to partner a full stop and a stop line or a stop sign. And let's just say I had a very kind officer inform me that that is not the state law. But what saved me was there was a sign underneath the stop sign that said traffic from the left does not stop. And so he said, oh, maybe you saw that. And he kind of gave me some, I think it's because I'm technically a senior now, I'm 55.
Oh, gosh.
I got off with a verbal warning. He gave me a verbal, God love him. He gave me a verbal warning. But let me tell you, I will freely admit when I'm wrong. In this case, I was wrong. Everybody, stop at a stop sign before you turn right. Fully stop behind the white line.
Yeah, make sure you stop behind the white line. Todd's been hit on that one before.
Yes. True story. True story. Yes, Heather, true story. Anyway, I think that I think both those things, for what's worse, are equally as bad as well. Chuck in East Troy says tailgating is worse. Great show today. Thanks to Senator Royce. Thanks to Tom Kircher and Zommers on the board. And all of you for listening. Maggie Dawn is next. Whatever you're fighting for, whatever you believe in, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. See you tomorrow.
Banging on your drum, and they will hear you.
All right, everybody. Thank you. We appreciate you. I know. I know.
Adios.
I was wrong. Bye.